Hi, Lauren. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. So, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming in to speak with me today. I did want to let you know of a few things before we jump in. As a therapist, I do have to honor confidentiality and privacy. So, I just wanted to let you know that everything that is said in this session stays in the session. Unless you were to express that you were to harm yourselves or somebody else, then I would have to report that for the safety of both of you. I also wanted to let you know that if I was to run into you at Wegmans, I won't acknowledge you unless you acknowledge me. So that is to respect your privacy and protect your privacy. And same goes to like if I was with someone as well, like I wouldn't introduce you to them because of to make sure to protect your privacy. Do you have any questions about those things?
No.
All right. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what brings you in today?
Okay. I am a grad student. I'm getting my master's in social work right now, and I'm just feeling a lot of stress and pressure and burnout.
Oh yeah, that sounds so stressful. I definitely understand. Um, what does stress feel for you? Because I know for me, I know what stress is for me, but how do you feel stress?
So I notice like when I'm stressed that like I'm constantly sort of fearing the worst outcome in every situation, like thinking or assuming the worst in every situation. I'm more irritable. I have a harder time sleeping. My stomach doesn't feel right. Um, it affects me in a lot of different ways, but I would say like I'm also just less likely to want to go out and do fun things.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're experiencing a lot of discomfort from these feelings of stress. Would you say that there's other feelings that accompany stress when you're feeling like that?
Um, I think like anxiety, sometimes like an overwhelm. Um, like I sometimes fear. But I would say anxiety is probably the biggest one.
Okay. So it sounds like you're experiencing a lot of anxiety, and because of that, it's impacting your sleep, your eating, your well-being. Um,
Mhm.
can you identify any specific triggers that make you feel that way in your body?
Um, it's interesting. Like I having just like run-of-the-mill assignments, little things to participate in, little things to turn in, that doesn't really overwhelm me that much. But then anytime we have like a really big project or paper or assignment due, that like really, really overwhelms me. And it overwhelms me the whole time I'm in a course.
Okay, so you would say that it's mostly the bigger projects that are the most stressful for you, not so much the
Definitely.
okay.
Yeah.
Um has how long have you been experiencing anxiety? Can you remember like a memory early on in your life where you started feeling anxious?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been feeling anxiety for a lot of my life now. Um, I think I remember being a kid, probably in like third grade, and having an assignment due. And um, my my mom is a real perfectionist, and so she essentially did the project for me. Now, she didn't do the whole thing for me. I did a lot of the work, but she made it look professional. It was like beautiful calligraphy, exacto knife needed to be like used. I had like a project that I turned in that had like a working light that you could turn on and off, like things like that I was not capable of doing by myself. Um, but but that my mom decided, that really needed to just go above and beyond, be absolutely perfect, be professional level, even though I was in third grade. And so I think that at that point, I just really started expecting that from myself, even if that's not really what I was capable of doing.
Yeah. So it sounds like your mom almost created this pressure for you to almost go up to that professional level of like, okay, I need to complete assignments to this professional level like my mom is.
Mhm.
And that almost is making you feel that pressure that's causing your anxiety. Does that sound right?
Yes. Yeah, that even what is good enough is not somehow good enough for me to turn in.
Okay. So in a way, your mom almost kind of made like she set the bar too high for the level that you were at then when you were in third grade.
Yeah, and I think like it definitely was something that stood out to my classmates too, because they had done their own work. And while like the paper or whatever that accompanied this poster had been, I did all of that. The poster that I submitted was this just gorgeous like piece of art that a 9-year-old, especially me, I'm not good with visual art, artistic kind of stuff. So especially for me, I like my classmates knew that I didn't create that. They knew that they couldn't create that. So then it sort of became this whole thing of like, well, Lauren's mom does her projects for her. And so um I think like it always made me feel that no matter how much I could give, even if I was giving 100% of my best, that it like still wasn't quite enough.
Yeah. So it sounds like there was almost like that pressure from your classmates as well, because they were expecting that level of perfectionism from you and there was almost like an underlying sense of like, okay, Lauren's mom helps her with her stuff. Does that sound right?
Yeah, and the school would like love to put my projects on display because they were always the most beautiful and all that kind of, they looked really nice. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it always felt like I could never just be quite enough.
Yeah. When your mom was doing your projects for you, do you remember what were some of the thoughts that you were having during that time when you were watching her put her like finishing touches and stuff on it?
Kind of a mixture of things. I mean, to a degree, I was like excited because I was going to have this beautiful thing to turn in, and it was exactly what I pictured in my head, but that as a 9-year-old, I wasn't going to be able to recreate. So that was like that way at least exciting for me. But I did feel like embarrassed, a sense of shame over not not it seeming like I didn't have the capability to complete that on my own when I did. I just didn't have the ability to complete exactly that um, on my own. But it definitely at the time felt like I was being told that no matter what I was doing, it wasn't quite going to be good enough.
Yeah. Do you feel that there's almost a sense of guilt as well when you were younger, just because you knew that it wasn't completely your work?
Yeah, definitely. And like the other, I mentioned that my classmates would call it out, and I would be like, I know, I would love to do the project on my own
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, I definitely understand. How do you think those feelings from your childhood of feeling guilty and incapable and almost like under a lot of pressure, how do you think those feelings have carried into how you experience anxiety today?
Um, I think that I think it makes things that aren't that overwhelming seem really overwhelming. Things that might be at like a 15 feel like they're at an 85. Um, and so it's really that like I tell myself somehow that I'm not capable of something that I'm very much capable of doing. But I'll notice myself telling myself that whatever that major assignment's going to be is going to be too much.
Yeah. Do you feel like in a way you've almost become your mom? You've become that perfectionist that wants to do above and beyond on all of these assignments that you have?
Yes, to a degree, but then I think there's also like a part of me that also resents that.
Yeah.
since I kind of resented it as a kid. So it's like I have that, but then I also don't want to be that.
Yeah, and I understand that completely. Um, have you ever expressed to your mom how her putting her own spin on your projects have made you feel?
A little bit. I have a little bit. She can be she's a really caretaking person, and I think that she doesn't she was always doing that kind of stuff out of the goodness of her heart. So it's really hard for her to hear that it would have ever been had any sort of negative impact. And so I've talked to her about it a little bit, and she tends to sort of say, "Well, Lauren, you did so much of that work. I only helped with the poster. You wrote the whole paper on your own."
Yeah,
And so I think, which is true, but still, I think she kind of misses the point of that.
yeah. So I know you mentioned before that when you were younger, you felt a lot of pressure, even from your classmates, when you were presenting projects or you were submitting assignments, because they knew that you were going to have this like really professional result or end result.
Mhm.
Do you feel that same pressure now, like with your um, classmates when you're submitting your work or presenting?
I do feel like I probably check every single thing that every video or presentation, anything like that that I do, I probably check it and edit it a lot more than I need to, because I really want to be proud of what I submit, and to I want to feel that. I even though I like I really appreciate that my mom at least, instilled in me this sense of having a standard for myself of what I submit, but I do think it goes above and beyond what it needs to be.
Yeah. I know you mentioned earlier some of the feelings that you were feeling in your body when you were younger, when you were feeling those feelings of pressure and anxiety. Do you feel like you experience similar reactions in your body when you're anxious now?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
Yeah. What do you do now to cope with those feelings?
Um, Well, I try to take deep breaths. Um, I try to, do some positive thinking. Um, if I notice that I'm telling myself over and over again that I can't do something, then I remind myself that I'm going to make that true. If I keep telling myself I can't, then I'll be the one who's making that true.
Mhm.
So, I try to remind myself of that.
Yeah. What about your professors now? Do you think that that's something that you could discuss with them to see if they have anything that you can do in class to help you with that?
Yeah, I probably could. Maybe I could ask for like samples of assignments that even if it's not the exact assignment that I'm submitting, that they've, really thought were well done. That way I can kind of know their standard.
Yeah. Well, I do think that in our next session, we should explore a little bit more about the commonalities of how you experienced anxiety as a kid and how that's followed through into your adult life now. And we should try to work a little bit more on that and see what can we do to help you adapt the way that you're responding to stress. Does that sound good for you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. So I just wanted to thank you again for coming in today, and I commend you for opening up to me and discussing what you've been experiencing. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.